Welcome back in. Appreciate all of you hanging out with us as we roll through the Monday edition of OutKick. We are here in the Farmers OutKick studios. Call Farmers today for a quote. It is MLK Day. I appreciate all of you listening to us. I know a lot of you have today off. A lot of you also are working. We always work on holidays during football season because I know a lot of you are out there working, hanging out with us as well. We work on Labor Day. We worked on New Year's Day here. I worked on Christmas Eve, and we work on MLK Day because this is always a big Monday when it comes to breaking down the divisional round of the playoffs. But I'm not sure that we are giving enough credit. We talked a lot about Tom Brady so far in this show, and I feel like you can't give enough credit to Tom Brady. And we've talked a lot about the uncertainty surrounding Patrick Mahomes and his health status. And by the way, Dr. Chow is going to be with us in the third hour of the program, breaking down the overall health scenarios of Patrick Mahomes going forward. But the season that Aaron Rodgers has had, if you look at the 4 divisional round playoff games on Saturday and Sunday, you can change a play or two in any of these games and make them pretty competitive, with the exception of the game between the Packers and the Rams. The Packers really dominated that game from start to finish, right? If you look at total yardage, which is what I like to look at and say, okay, what was the total yardage differential? Because sometimes point totals can be a little bit confusing in terms of what they reflect. For instance, you get a bunch of turnovers and you can end up in a situation where the Bucs pulled away against the Saints, but the Saints turned the ball over 4 times. And that's hard to argue, in that scenario. Otherwise, the game was pretty even from a yardage perspective. The Bucs put up 316, the Saints put up 294. Not a lot of difference there. That was a fairly evenly played game if you take away all of the issues with turnovers. And, if you start to break down what happened in, for instance, the Chiefs and the Browns game, the Chiefs' offense went downhill in a hurry, no surprise, when Patrick Mahomes went out. But in general, if you look at yardage totals, it typically gives you a pretty good sense for who was in control of the games. And I think I can give you a rough approximation based on that and having watched all these games, ranking who were the most impressive teams that won as we roll into the AFC and NFC championship games. And with that in mind, the Packers were the best team by far. They nearly doubled the overall yardage that the Rams got. In addition to winning by 14 points, the Packers put up 484 yards to the 244 yards of the Rams. That was not really a very close game if you watched it, in terms of the Packers having control, Aaron Rodgers from that first touchdown pass to Devontae Adams. There was never really a point in time where you felt like the Packers were in serious danger of losing that football game. The Bucs, as I mentioned, I think were probably the second best performer, but maybe a little bit of that feels fraudulent because of the 4 turnovers. But they were probably the second best performer. The Chiefs, it was hard to get a read on because they were looking like they were going to completely take control of the game and win it with ease. And then you had the injury to Mahomes. They still outgained the Browns pretty substantially. But if the Browns don't fumble at the 1-yard line, and what I think is still the worst rule in football, the fact that if you fumble into the end zone, the other team gets a touchback. I mean, there's no reason for that to be the penalty. If you wanted to make the team that fumbles go all the way back to the 20-yard line, I could see that. I think probably going back to the 10 would be a fair penalty. It doesn't make sense to me that the other team gets the ball when you're just about to get a touchdown there. That seems way too punitive, and I've been on that for years, and it keeps happening. And then the Bills, look, Bills Mafia, congratulations, you won, but you've been outgained in both your performances. Now, you did have a 100-yard interception return, which doesn't factor into the overall offensive take, but you got outgained by 120 yards and only put up 220 yards of offense in general in that game, you were very, very fortunate to win. So if I had to rank the 4 teams that won in the order in which the quality of their win, I would go Packers 1, I would go Bucks 2, I would go Chiefs 3, and then I would go the Bills in the 4th spot there as we roll into the AFC and NFC championship games. All right, final hour of the program up next. We're going to bring in Dr. David Chow, break down the latest on Patrick Mahomes' health. Will he or won't he be able to play? Plus a breakdown of all the divisional games. This is OutKick on Fox Sports Radio.